Tom Bower is set to release an explosive book titled Betrayal, and this time his focus is on Harry and Meghan. An excerpt from the book is already out, and he has made some claims that have Harry and Meghan furious. Here are 25 truth bombs that Tom Bower dropped in his new book. One of the most dramatic claims in the book involves the royal family's private concerns. According to the book, Queen Camilla allegedly told a friend that she believed Meghan had brainwashed Harry. This wasn't just casual criticism, it was reportedly a serious fear within parts of the royal family. They believed Harry was no longer thinking independently and that Meghan had taken over much of his decision-making.
The Queen Camilla said that Harry had been brainwashed by Meghan, and that in fact members of the royal family felt that Meghan kind of changed Harry's personality, and he went from a fun-loving guy that we all loved and we all liked to this rather furrow-browed guy who seemed to hate everybody and everything.
If the claim is true, it reveals just how deep the suspicion inside the palace reportedly ran. But we have to agree that Harry is not the same fun-loving guy anymore. So at the One Young World Summit, Meghan Markle was invited to speak about global leadership and helping young people. A noble cause, a big stage, and an audience that actually came to be inspired. But according to Tom Bower's explosive new book, Betrayal, serialized in the Times, Meghan had a completely different agenda. She threw out the entire theme and spent 10 minutes talking about herself and her rise to fame. She used the word "I" nearly 50 times in a speech that was supposed to be about charity.
Proof that I was there, and proof that I belonged. Because the truth was, I wasn't sure that I belonged. I was so nervous. Oh, I doubted myself, and I wondered if I was good enough to even be there, if what I was doing in the world, albeit important and meaningful as far as I saw it, was it deserving?
And when Ella Robertson, daughter of the summit's co-founder, read through Meghan's script on the autocue, Ella said, "She's fucked it." In the book, Tom Bower made one of the most shocking and staggering claims. When Harry and Meghan came back from their honeymoon in 2018, Harry, William, and their wives were having a tea time meeting. Everything was going well until Meghan allegedly snapped at Prince William. The most shocking part of everything was that Harry was there, sitting and even sipping his tea while everything was spiraling out of control, and he didn't do anything to calm the situation down or even calm Meghan. This happened amid William's long-standing suspicion of Meghan. He had warned Harry before the engagement that it had gone too quickly regarding his relationship with the American actress. But what did Harry do? He ignored his big brother's advice and proceeded with the wedding and marriage. This sudden action from Meghan made Prince William steer clear of Meghan and even his own brother. The book did a lot of exposition about how Meghan viewed the royal family as a hindrance to achieving her global power dream. According to the narrative, the only way she believed she could accomplish global influence was to leave the royal family with Harry. According to the book, Meghan wanted to become a global power player in media, fashion, and influence. But critics say the constant image management, celebrity branding, and public drama sometimes made the whole thing feel less like royal service and more like a never-ending Hollywood PR campaign. As for Harry, he became the most confused man on earth. He is portrayed as someone caught between two worlds, his royal family and the life he built with Meghan. Harry reportedly fears that when his brother Prince William becomes king, he might strip Harry of his Duke of Sussex title. This concern reportedly comes from what happened when King Charles III removed Prince Andrew's royal titles. Harry fears that a similar decision could be made about him in the future.
Harry apparently, reportedly, according to the book, is worried he'll be banished from royal circles when William becomes king. Well, that is almost certainly true. He'll probably lose his HRH title and his prince title.
If that ever happens, it would be one of the most dramatic royal decisions in modern history. In simple terms, it would be the royal equivalent of being permanently removed from the family group chat, leaving him as a commoner despite still having royal blood. According to Tom Bower, Meghan's team had one eye constantly on what the royal family was doing, and reportedly used it to their advantage. When Princess Catherine was set to appear at the Royal Variety performance on November 19th, a high-profile, heavily photographed royal event, Meghan's publicists allegedly spotted the date. They timed the release of Meghan's Netflix trailer to coincide with it. Tom Bower presents this as part of a calculated, ongoing strategy to hijack royal media cycles and redirect attention back to Meghan. In Bower's view, the Sussexes were rapidly reaching the end of the road in Hollywood, and moves like this were less about confidence and more about desperation to stay relevant at any cost. Harry reportedly believes the royal institution left him on his own, especially regarding security and protection. From his perspective, the system that once protected him suddenly said, "Good luck out there."
Harry claims he and his wife Meghan felt abandoned, a major factor in their move to California. He added he felt trapped by his family and the toxic environment he perceived he was living in.
From the palace's perspective, critics argue that the situation was simply the consequence of stepping away from royal duties. This disagreement became one of the central ongoing conflicts between Harry and the monarchy. For William and Kate, from the very first day Harry introduced Meghan to them and the rest of the royal family, Tom Bower noted that the two of them viewed Meghan as a threat. They believed that Meghan saw herself as someone destined for more than royal life in London. She reportedly regretted Harry's slim chances of becoming king, as well as her own chances of becoming queen. In other words, they felt her plan was to enter the royal family and eventually become the Queen of the United Kingdom. However, that did not happen because Harry's chances of becoming king are extremely slim, making that path impossible for her. They also saw her as someone exploiting Harry's vulnerabilities from his troubled youth, including his history with drinking, substance use, therapy after Diana's death, and his past failed relationships. According to this perspective, when Meghan recognized this situation, she positioned herself more as a divisive force rather than an ally within the royal family. Just before the One Young World Summit, Meghan reportedly did something drastic. Tom Bower wrote that her team allegedly demanded tight control over everything. They even went as far as banning journalists from entering the hall, and protesters were kept far away so they wouldn't disrupt the occasion. At most charity events, crowds gather outside to welcome their favorite guests and celebrities, but in this case, because of Meghan and her team, no crowd was allowed outside. The only people allowed were friendly photographers. I guess Meghan was worried about booing. The journalists who were in attendance were carefully selected, and one of the only writers who was allowed into the hall was royal commentator Omid Scobie. Surprisingly, what was supposed to be a charity summit turned into something like a Hollywood premiere. There was absolutely nothing that looked like authentic global philanthropy because everything seemed to be carefully pre-approved press coverage. People watching on television may have thought the summit was well organized, but behind the scenes, things reportedly went out of plan because Meghan came with her own rules and they had to be followed to the letter. Tom Bower revealed that after the Netflix and Spotify deals ended, it seemed like Meghan's world was crashing. High security costs, requiring at least $3 million annually, combined with dwindling income from speeches and endorsements, meant their finances were rapidly running out.
Show that Harry and Meghan are running out of money as the millions that they accrued from the book Spare and the original Netflix deal are beginning to dwindle.
Even their foundation, the Archwell Foundation, saw its income drop drastically from $5.3 million to $2.1 million. Donations from well-meaning individuals were also not enough to cover expenses. In fact, their spending reportedly reached $3.9 million, while they received only $1.2 million in donations. This led to them wrapping up some of their charitable activities by transferring responsibilities to Parents Together Foundation, a move that was presented as a success but was also seen by critics as abandoning philanthropy. Meghan Markle's lifestyle brand, As Ever, launched a product described as raspberry fruit spread. Meghan's brand presented it as one of the best products ever. However, critics pointed out something interesting. According to the book, it wasn't called jam because the mixture was too runny to qualify as jam. So instead it became fruit spread, which some people joked was the polite corporate way of saying jam but making it watery.
Turns out it's not actually jam. Under FDA regulations, it's technically a spread.
The technical term for jam includes a 1-for-1 ratio of sugar and fruit. Most people don't do that.
The price for this jar was pegged at $12. For something that did not taste any better than regular jam, many people felt the price was outrageous.
The problem is she's charging $12 a jar for this, and you can get jam that tastes just as good, if not better, for $4. You're paying all that extra money so you can get Meghan Markle to send you a stupid little card that reads "enjoy" in her lame little calligraphy on one side and "as ever" on the other with, I don't know what that is, if it's a royal seal or what, but it's got a palm tree on it, so I'm guessing not.
To help sell the product, her sales team reportedly pitched the story that it came from Meghan's own kitchen, with her children excitedly watching as she prepared it. Critics began wondering whether customers really wanted to pay luxury prices for something that sounded more like a Pinterest kitchen experiment. One of the most eyebrow-raising claims by Tom Bower involves Paris Fashion Week. According to the book, Meghan was not even invited. She allegedly contacted designer Pierpaolo Piccioli herself with a proposal. In this proposal, she allegedly suggested that she would make a surprise appearance at the show if the brand covered her expenses. Shockingly, the expenses she was referring to were around $250,000. Pierpaolo, the person Meghan had asked for payment, went on air and said Meghan wasn't invited to the show. According to him, she invited herself.
It wasn't like Balenciaga was clamoring for Meghan Markle to appear. She just said, hey, I would love to go. And they're like, sure, it will give us some publicity, generate some interest.
That moment would have been very embarrassing because the whole situation suddenly sounded like someone saying, hi, can I come to your party if you pay for everything? It felt less like a glamorous celebrity invitation and more like a teenage girl going to prom and asking her prom date to buy her the gown. The Invictus Games was one of Prince Harry's most celebrated initiatives. It gave injured veterans the opportunity to express themselves through sports, and even Queen Elizabeth joined to inaugurate the Games, showing her full support.
Oh, really? Please.
Boom. But according to the book, critics began calling the event something else: the Meghan Games. Why? Because during the Games, instead of the focus being on the veterans competing, attention often shifted to Meghan's outfits, appearances, and photo moments. Instead of headlines about the veterans, many headlines focused on Meghan arriving in controversial outfits. Critics argue that the attention slowly shifted away from the veterans and toward Meghan herself. To test that claim, many people ask a simple question: can you name the team that won the most medals last year? Most people cannot. Meghan attempted a major image rebrand through a magazine cover with Harper's Bazaar. The goal was to present her as a powerful and mature global figure entering the next phase of her life. However, the article contained one quietly awkward detail. When the journalist arrived at Meghan's home to gather information for the interview, a butler reportedly announced, "Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex." The problem was that the announcement was made to an empty room. According to Tom Bower's new book, observers at an event in New York noticed something unusual. Harry and Meghan both looked tired, possibly from their busy schedule of public appearances and media events. At one point, they appeared to be arguing. During the tense moment, Meghan was seen pushing his hand away. Of course, couples argue and disagreements are normal in any marriage. But when you are one of the most photographed couples in the world, even a small moment like that can quickly turn into global gossip fuel. Harry's security situation during his UK visits was far more complicated than he let on. Tom Bower claims Harry was left rattled after the Home Office declined to provide armed police protection in either Manchester or London, a decision that reportedly left him feeling both vulnerable and, in his own words, abandoned. But here is where Bower's portrayal gets interesting. Despite all the complaints about dangerous conditions, an entire rail carriage was reserved for the journey from London to Manchester, and yet even with that buffer from the public, Harry's discomfort did not abate. Bauer paints Harry as a man who simultaneously wanted sympathy for feeling unsafe while being surrounded by arrangements most people could only dream of. And according to Bauer, Harry was essentially saying the UK was too dangerous to visit, while actively choosing to visit it anyway. According to Tom Bauer's explosive new book, when Harry returned to the UK, he donated £1.1 million of his own personal money to charity. Unlike most royals who show up in support rather than cutting actual checks, Harry made a point of publicly announcing a large, specific monetary donation to Barnes & Noble, something that immediately raised eyebrows, because in royal culture, you simply do not advertise your charity work like that. And Bauer doesn't hold back on what he thinks about it either. According to the book, to many observers, it looked less like a generous gesture and more like what Bauer calls mitigation money, a very expensive attempt to clean up a very damaged reputation. After nearly 2 years apart, Harry finally met his father, King Charles III.
Breaking news from London, Prince Harry was seen arriving at Clarence House today for a meeting with his father, King Charles. It's their first reunion in more than a year and a half. The two have been estranged since Harry and his wife, Meghan, left royal life, moving to California.
For most people, a reunion like that would normally be emotional. People expected tears, hugs, heartfelt conversations, and some form of reconciliation between father and son. But what reportedly happened shocked many observers. Tom Bauer confirms that the meeting between the two reportedly lasted only 54 minutes and was described as formal and distant. There were no photographs released and no visible warm family moments. Instead, insiders reportedly compared the meeting to something closer to an official appointment rather than a heartfelt reunion between a father and his son. Meghan's lifestyle series with Love Meghan reportedly struggled to gain traction despite her efforts. Tom Bauer wrote that the show was intended to relaunch her image as a lifestyle icon, but according to claims mentioned in the book, it ranked around 383rd on Netflix charts.
With Love Meghan came in at number 385. The show has garnered just 5.3 million views since its debut in March, which is a pretty dismal number.
For a project that was meant to relaunch Meghan's brand and influence, that ranking was not exactly headline-worthy. Because of this disappointing performance, Netflix reportedly decided to cancel the show once and for all. From a business perspective, they could not continue investing in a project that was not bringing strong returns. Meghan's search for relevance reportedly reached a point where she began appearing at events she had previously ignored. One example mentioned in the book involved a charity event hosted by Kevin Costner. The previous year, Meghan reportedly showed little interest in attending the event. However, later she appeared at the gathering wearing jewelry reportedly worth $325,000.
Well, fun fact, Meghan wore reportedly $300,000 worth of jewelry to this event. Charity events are designed to shine a spotlight on those in need, but Meghan's dazzling display drew attention away from the cause and onto her wardrobe. For someone who talks so much about compassion and equality, critics are arguing that the optics feel a little out of touch here.
Critics did not miss this detail. Many interpreted it as a sudden realization that public visibility matters a lot when relaunching a personal brand. It looked like she had begun attending events she once rejected simply to regain public attention. During Paris Fashion Week, Meghan reportedly stayed at the luxury Plaza Athénée Hotel. According to claims mentioned in the book, her suite cost about $22,000 per night. This kind of lifestyle certainly adds glamour to the narrative of a lifestyle influencer. However, critics were quick to point out the contradiction. They noted that the image of a relatable home kitchen jam maker does not quite match the image of someone staying in a 5-figure luxury hotel suite. At several public events, Meghan reportedly wore jewelry that once belonged to Princess Diana.
But it's that blue bling on her finger that really stood out. It's the same gem Meghan sported during her wedding reception back in 2018. And at the time, a Kensington Palace official confirmed to ET that the aquamarine ring once belonged to Diana.
Every time this happens, it naturally attracts media headlines and comparisons. However, critics argue that drawing constant connections to Diana's legacy has become a powerful publicity magnet during Meghan's media appearances. According to Tom Bauer, during the 2025 Invictus Games in Vancouver, Meghan allegedly demanded that she be addressed as ma'am and Harry as sir. This kind of title and honor is not typically for ordinary people. It is usually reserved for individuals who have made a significant impact in their field and community, not for people trying to gain popularity. Even the organizers of the games were reportedly tired as they criticized the high expenses, such as private jets and security, which were funded by others and not by Harry himself. During the event, attendance was said to be low, with reports of only 43 paying spectators for wheelchair basketball. There were also claims that empty seats were filled with people who were there just for photo appearances. The focus, which was supposed to be on the veterans, reportedly shifted to Meghan and her celebrity guests. Tom Bauer also revealed that the Sussexes reportedly schemed to return to the UK through the 2026 Birmingham Invictus Games.
So Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the two little hucksters from Montecito, they're going crawling back to the UK. Apparently in July, they're going over there for the Invictus Games.
During this period, Harry is desperately trying to have King Charles open the event, which could allow Meghan and their children to gain media dominance. However, Tom Bauer considers this plan unlikely due to potential protests. Additionally, the damage Meghan and Harry have done from alleged title exploitation makes such a return increasingly complicated. There you have it, 25 truth bombs from Tom Bauer's new book, Betrayal. Which of these revelations shocked you the most? Let us know in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next video.